Good morning, sweet being. It is lovely to see you. It's very good to be here. And it's a lovely mild day, and I don't really have a hat on because I need it. I have a hat on because I like it. Let me show you the world. So there's the day. The wind is coming from the right-hand side of the screen, and what there is of it, which isn't much at the moment. There's barely a zephyr. You have to really look at the cabbage tree leaves to notice that there's any kind of wind direction. But trust me, it's coming from the right-hand side of the screen. That's the airflow. And down here in the garden, we have phones ringing. Well, actually that's next door. We have the elderberry, which you can see is losing its leaves, and the magnolias there that stick between the grey cook's daisy and in front of the left-hand magnolia, in front of the left-hand golden elderberry is that stick, which is a magnolia, and it's losing its leaves too. Good morning, beautiful beings. It's lovely to see you hopping on. And down here, we have autumn growth now because it was dry. That's what happens in summer, and then it rains, and so it starts to grow again. And Faye, it's you. G'day, sweetie. So everything's sort of looking green and lush, taking advantage of the days that are still long enough for growth, and the fact that it's rained to put some more growth on before everything stops. Look, you can see it rained. See, there's a spider's web there. So, and we have, see why I like this campanula? It never really stops flowering. So there's always some purple somewhere if you look. And this is a tree fern that has just grown in my crib wall, and I have to move it because tree ferns get big. I can't show you a big one here, but trust me, they get big, and I don't want a big tree fern there. So what else have we got? We have this wonderful lush clover. I know I showed you yesterday, but it's so beautiful. I want to show you again today because it's got to be cut, and it will be sooner or later. And I think I showed you the coriander yesterday, but it's been rained on, so the flowers are a little bit changed, as in drenched. But there they are. What else can I show you here? See, there's the magnolia. Its leaves are starting to turn. And here's the hydrangea underneath the elderberries. And you see I leave the flowers on, and they're changing colours as well. This is a bed of violets here, which will turn into something wonderful eventually. So, in spring there'll be purple flowers on it. And there's the other side of the garden. It's just nice to be out here with you today. And there's barely a little breeze just stirring the old leaves on the iris, which will come again in spring. This is a nice view. This is something I enjoy, is the fact that it's got terraces and it steps back. Oh, and look, there's flowers on the lavender. And there are the corphi, which will have yellow flowers in spring, and the native plants on top of the crib wall. It's a garden. What can I say? I'm grateful it's here. So, I didn't have any pain points in my pain point pile yesterday. Sorry for the awful alliteration. Good morning, beautiful beings. It's so good to see you. Jenny, it's you. Hello. And so that's a hint. If you've got a question, please ask, because I love answering your questions. I can always dig one out from somewhere, but it's always more fun to answer yours. But I was thinking, yesterday was Tuesday, and I didn't actually do a Technique Tuesday. I've stopped thinking about Technique Tuesday. But I decided I've had it rattling around in my head for a little while, that I wanted to go back to basics, talk about really brain waves, slowing your brain down, why that's important, what it allows you to do, some of the science around it. What's the point? What's the big deal about brain waves and brain states, and why should I even bother to develop the skill to slow my brain down? Because I talk a lot about brain coherence and opening your focus, and you have to do that if you want to really get into the operating system in your brain to make changes. But, what's the deal with that? So this is really Technique Tuesday on Wednesday, because I just feel like it today. So remember, maybe you've heard this before, remember that you and I are, like, the brain has different states. It produces different kinds of waves, and these can be measured, right? There's no mystery to this now. People have been measuring brain waves for a long time. because they notice that people have different states of being. So you and I here, chances are we're in some degree of beta brainwaves at the moment. Sandy, it's you. You have to start there for lasting change. We sure do. There's no other way to do it. So mostly when we're conscious, we're in beta. When you're relaxed in beta, you could be reading a book, you could be talking with friends, you could be watching television. You're likely to be in alpha. Okay, we get entranced by the television. So don't think of that as a beta brainwave state. You're relaxed and you're paying attention when you're in low beta. And that, if I remember rightly, is from 12 to 15 cycles a second. That's how fast the brain is going. It's been measured. And what that means is the little wave, when you see it on a graph, it's got 12 to 15 peaks, goes up and down 12 to 15 times every second. So, that's low beta. Mid-range beta is if you are studying for a test and you have to pass the test before you can leave, or, you're performing, or you're a little bit nervous, but you're not stressed out to the max. So when you're in mid-range beta, that is, if I get this right, about 15 to 17, 18 cycles a second. So the brain perks up, pays a bit more attention. It's a little bit more important, but you're not worried. And I've just seen a very risky snail on the footpath, and I'm going to move it because I don't actually want to step on it, because I might. And that crunch under my foot of having stepped on a snail is not something I like. So if you are stressed out, afraid, angry, lost the plot, anxious, depressed, any of those unpleasant feelings that we don't like, you are in some degree of high beta, and high beta is sort of 20 to 45, 50. The brain's going really fast, but it's also really disorganized. I'm not going to talk about that part so much today. I'll probably touch on it. So, high beta, stress. And of course, if you remember, every time you think a thought, you make a chemical, and the chemical relates to the thought, and stressful thoughts, be they angry, sad, depressed, desperate, whatever it is, are not particularly good for your body because the chemistry isn't good for your body. Short term, fine, it's adaptive, it's useful, but long term, if you're feeling bad feelings on and on and on, it's not so good for your body. So that's high beta. The brain can go fast. When you manage to slow down, if you're sitting entranced in front of a television, that's not particularly a good state of alpha, but it's alpha. But when you are in your imaginary inner world, that's why a television can entrance you, because you're caught up in the story and you're imagining it, or you're kind of in it. You're in your inner world of thoughts and feelings, and that is alpha. Children spend quite a lot of time in alpha. They're imagining the tea party and they're using mud and leaves, but to them it's a real tea party, and they pick up the leaf and they sip from the cup that they're imagining, and it's real. It's really inside their awareness. They're just having their own experience, and that is alpha. And alpha is, let me get this right because I have to practice, is between 8 and 11 cycles a second. So the brain is slowing down. Remember, beta is 12 to 15 and up. It's low beta is 12 to 15. Alpha is about 8 to 11 cycles a second. So the brain is slowing down. It's more relaxed. It's when you're just chilling out, man, and you're just thinking about things quietly inside your own mind, and, it's peaceful. That's alpha. Now, if the brain gets slower, what happens when you go to sleep at night, and also when you wake up in the morning, is there's a state between being asleep and being awake. The brain is running at 4 to 8 cycles a second, and it's called theta. And this is the state that people are in when they're in a really good hypnotic trance. So guess what? You can program your brain when you can consciously get into theta, when you know what it feels like, and I do. I know precisely what it feels like when I'm in theta. You can program your brain. So that's a big why, right? And when you slow the brain down even more than theta, it's delta, otherwise known as deep sleep. Except that it's actually possible to be in delta and have your body completely catatonic and, out of the way, gone. You don't even know you've got a body, but you're conscious and you're awake. It's been measured. That's how I know it's true. can be done. So the brain is capable of doing this, and the thing that most of us don't understand until we start to realise that it's possible is that we actually have the ability to learn to control what state our brain's in. And if you've been running in stress for however long, for decades, that can be a pretty big thing to get your heart and mind around, because you're thinking, what? My mind is my worst enemy. I mean, it's great when I can manage it, but when it just becomes this raging demon inside my head, and you're saying I can learn to control that? Yeah, you can. But you can't do it with willpower. Because willpower is a function of the conscious mind. When you're in beta, or even a little bit in alpha, you have consciousness. You can choose. You can make a willful choice. You can say, I am doing this. But the reason why we get stuck in stressful emotions and patterns of thinking and ways of behaving that are so automatic and so much who we think we are, that we think they are who we are, and they're not, is because those patterns of thinking and being and talking and reacting, they've been programmed into the brain at a level that's so deep that you can only change them if you go down into theta. Or maybe into alpha. You've got to get into alpha or theta to be able to change those programs. So that is why understanding about brainwaves is valuable. And it can inspire you if you think, oh, you mean so that trauma that has been stuck in my body for the last 27 and a half years is in a place that I can't consciously decide to change it. Yes, that is why that block that you just can't move, you just can't move it. That is why. Because you can't change it by thinking about it with your conscious mind. You actually have to be able to turn off your conscious mind. Because when you do that, the identity of who you are and your memories and all the experiences and all the predictions you can make about how your life is going to be, and your pain, your fears, whatever, it all actually just goes away. Speaking from experience, it stops being there while your brain is shut down. And I don't mean shut down dead, I mean you just have conscious awareness of where you're putting your attention. Your brainwaves slow down. And because you're not there anymore, but you're aware, you're a consciousness, and you can make changes that way, that is utterly, totally, completely impossible to make changes in any other way. You just can't do it by thinking about it. So that's what you do with the block that just won't move. That's the only way that I know, because I've had blocks that just don't move for decades, and now they are moving because I'm changing them at that level. And there's something else that I want to pack around this, which is, how can we have these memories that we don't even know we've got them? So there are two basic memory systems in the body, or in the mind, in the brain and the body. One's in the brain, one's in the body. There's an explicit memory system. Now, the explicit memories are made up of stuff that you know, the autobiographical self, as Joe Dispenza says. I learned this from him. I absolutely did. Where you've been, what you've done, what you've studied, who you've been with, what places, things you can recall. What shoe size you wear, what colour you like, where you've been, where you want to go. The self that you're aware of knowing about. That is the semantic memories. Episodic memories, I beg your pardon. Those are memories, episodes you've lived, or things you've imagined, experience. And then the other thing that makes up your explicit memory are things you know, stuff you studied, semantic memories. So you have episodic and semantic memories, and they're your conscious self. Abigail, good morning! Everything you know, everything you've experienced. Explicit. You can declare those memories. You know that you know them. But there's another memory system, and it's the implicit memory system. And these are things that you don't even know that you know. You don't think about how to walk unless you're overcoming paralysis. You don't think about how to talk unless you're overcoming aphasia. You don't think about how to drive your car once you've learned. You don't think about how to swallow. It's automatic. You just do it. And these are implicit memories. We don't know how we know to do them. If somebody says to you, how do you swallow? Oh, gee, I don't know. I just do it. How do you see? How do you use your eyes to make sense of the world? Well, I don't know. I just do. I just look. And yet a baby has to learn to see. I mean, part of that's just the brain developing, but also they have to develop these visual skills. And you never think about it now, do you? You're not thinking you don't have to learn to walk every day in the morning. So implicit memories are great, otherwise known as habits, but you get whole clusters of habits. I mean, walking is more than a habit. It's this skill. You just know that you know how to do it. And also, our states of being, our trauma, our fears, our automatic programs, thinkings, identity, the way we think we are and the way we think our lives are, that's implicit too. You don't know how it is that you know that you're always in lack, or that you're always alone, or that you're always scared, or that you're always feeling like other people dump on you. You don't know how it is that you do that, and you think that it's the circumstances around you, but actually it's who you are. And I can't tell you what powerful demonstrations I've had of that actual fact in my own life in the last 24 hours. Big change in circumstances. Positive. Reaction? Exactly the same as if it was the day before, or the month before, or the year before. It's like, oh my gosh, the circumstances really do make bloody no difference at all to the fact that I have this program running in my head. This is amazing. It's hilarious. It's like, oh, feck. This is the truth. It really is how it works. Oh my God. It's implicit, and I'm still pruning out those synaptic connections. So I got to make the changes at that level, because I can't think my way out of this. I never could. I was so completely paralyzed by this state of being that I know I'm in the process of moving through, because I'm so different than how I used to be. You know, and I've got to become conscious of it. I've got to become aware of it. It's got to stop being implicit and become explicit, so I can say, oh my God, I'm so lackful about that now. Oh heavens, and I thought I'd become more abundant, and I have, but this is the part of me that still isn't abundant. This is the part of me that's still fearful and in lack and says, oh no, it's not enough. I tell you, it's not enough. It'll never be enough. It'll all go away. There'll never be any more. It's amazing. The same program runs and the circumstances are entirely different. And, you know, it is increasingly ridiculous to me because I see it so clearly now. It's implicit. I have to change the implicit program. So every time it comes up, I'm getting clearer and clearer as I overcome it, what I do want to believe and think and feel and habit. Okay, so that is why we have to go to the place. Implicit memories are way beyond what you can change with your conscious mind. Consciously you can make a choice, and that's fine. But if you've been programmed as a young person, for example, I mean, this is a common example, but it's not the only one that happens. If you've been programmed as a young person to feel worthless or whatever, then you remember as a young child, your brain doesn't even have a conscious analytical mind until you're at least 7. Up until the age of 7, you're in delta and theta. So you're totally open to suggestion. Whatever comes in is just how it is. You can't argue with it. You have no brain to say, this is crap. This is bullshit what my parents telling me. It's not true that I'm a nuisance. I'm this wonderful person who's got questions and, you know, and I've got a will and I'm exploring the world, and my mother's just upset because she's feeling like shit. But no, she says I'm a nuisance. That's it. No argument, no disagreement, no analytical mind to do that. Once you get past the age of 7, you start to develop, the alpha comes in and the beta. Beta comes in by sort of, 11, 12 puberty. So, this is the thing. Those early programs, and also anything that's coming through repeated conditioning from somebody who said the same thing or behaved in the same way over and over and over, or a very deep trauma which completely shocks the brain, shuts down the analytical mind, and whatever it is that goes with the trauma just goes bam, straight in, and it kind of carried, the signals carried on the back of the trauma, it gets stuck there. You can't reprogram that by saying, I'm not traumatized anymore. And your body says, yeah, right, you are. Because it's in your body. And it's in the unconscious part of the brain. And you can only do that by changing your brain state and knowing how it is that you actually alter that inside yourself. And nobody can do it for you. Nobody can do it for you. I mean, I suppose a really talented hypnotist, some of these therapies that are available, they help you get into the implicit systems of the body and brain and change them. But that's the deal. That's why you can't think yourself out of deep trauma or very deep limiting beliefs and perceptions about life. It just, where you're able to make the conscious choice is not where the issue is. So, I said we'd have a taste of the practice. What the hell is the practice? The first practice is actually to start paying attention to the things that you don't even normally notice. To start noticing when you're reacting to something and thinking, oh, my life is always like this. Oh, I just always feel afraid. There's never enough. Nobody loves me. I don't love me. I don't like me. Whatever it is, you actually first have to become conscious of those things that have just been running all the time and you haven't even barely noticed them because you think they're you. So you first have to think, well, maybe the way that I think and feel all the time isn't me, and there is a possibility that I can change it because now I know it's in an implicit system in my brain and body. I need to get into that. So what actually is it that I need to get into and change? So, so that's what you have to overcome. What are those names, It's not true. It's just labels. It's just what people did because they didn't know what to do with us, whatever, because of their own crap. So we have to get into the implicit systems. All right, so the first thing is to become aware and realise that you can't think your way out of it. The next thing is to adopt some kind of practice that allows you to slow your brainwave down and get in there and make changes. Now, for me, that's to open the focus. Stephanie, hello, honey. And we've done that, okay? Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to check my clock. Yeah, I'm out of time. So you have to open your focus. Go and find one of the other Tuesday lives, because there's quite a few of them now, where we practice that. You open your focus, and when your focus is open, your brain becomes coherent, and you can start then to put your attention on the thing you do want to think and feel about. So I'm sorry I got busy explaining the science of it. The what and the why really helps. The practice you're going to have to explore yourself. There's lots of ways of doing it. Julian, hello, sweetie. Of course, those of you who think, well, who is this Joe Dispenza guy and how can I get connected with his work? Because that's really what's transformed me. If you can't find it, don't know, drop me a message or put a comment and I'll send you some links. It's totally changed my life and I'm so grateful. So I'm also very grateful for you joining me. Where you put your attention is where you put your energy. And the fact that you choose to share your attention and energy with me is something I do not take for granted. I appreciate it every time. Big love. Remember, if you do have a question, please ask. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.